In this week's Torah portion, Vayigash, Joseph finally reveals his true identity to his brothers, helping them finally understand why everything happened to them the way that it did, leaving us with a very, very important life lesson. Shalom, my friends. This is the Kiva Gersh with Israel in 5, where we give you everything Israel in 5 minutes. Please like and subscribe. But if you have any questions, want to keep the conversation going, please do so below in the comments. This is the peak of the story that we've been looking at, learning for the past couple of weeks and the past couple of weeks worth of Torah portions. We know a couple of weeks ago, Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers because they hated him and they were jealous of him because of all the dreams he had and the premonitions he had that he was going to be a leader and they're going to bow down to him. And he was sold into slavery in Egypt. And then eventually he was thrown into jail after being accused falsely of something. He was in jail for many years. And then he's taken out of jail to interpret Paro's dreams, and he interprets them in a way that Paro is very happy with. And he's taken out of jail for good, and he's made the second most important person in all of Egypt. And the story goes on, and there's a famine, and the brothers come down looking for food. Joseph recognizes them, they don't recognize him, and he basically brings them to this whole crazy story, up and down and all around, accusing them of all kinds of things, putting some of the brothers into jail, um, um, wanting to put Benjamin into jail. It was a whole crazy, very, very difficult story. And in this week's Torah portion, everything comes together and everything becomes clear of what's really going on. Why? Because after many different interactions between the brothers and Joseph, when the brothers did not know who Joseph was, they just looked at him as this mean leader in Egypt who was causing so much pain and suffering in their lives. Finally, Joseph can't hold back and reveals his true identity to them. And this happens only after Judah comes up to Joseph, right? After Joseph said to the brothers that I'm going to take Benjamin and I'm going to put him into jail. And you guys can go back to the land of Canaan to your father. And they said, "There's no way. There's no way we can go back to our father without Benjamin. He didn't want us to bring him down in the first place. He was scared that something like this might happen to him." Right? And it's Judah who steps up, literally steps up, and talks one-on-one with Joseph, face to face, pleading with him, saying, "I can't. Believe me, I cannot go back to my father without this son of his, without Benjamin. He will absolutely die." And of course, Joseph, that's his father, right? Jacob is Joseph's father also. And when Joseph hears this, he can't hold back anymore. He literally runs out of the room and he cries. Right? He has like this emotional release and he can't take it anymore. And so what does he do eventually? He says to the brothers two words that changes the entire story. In Hebrew, those words are Ani Yosef, which means I am Joseph. I am Joseph. This is me. I'm Joseph, your brother. They couldn't believe it. They were stunned. They were shocked. You can imagine after this whole story that unfolded with them just simply and innocently coming down to Egypt to get food. And they're told to go to this guy to get the food. And it was Joseph, their brother, but they didn't know it. And then Joseph, of course, recognized them and took them through this whole kind of roller coaster ride of events, causing much pain and suffering to them, right, emotionally. And finally, they realized this man that they've been talking to, this man that did all these things to them, right, is Joseph their brother? And of course, let's not forget that along the way, they said out loud, even in front of Joseph, because they didn't realize that he understood the Hebrew that they were speaking. They said out loud, "This must be happening because of what we did to our brother." Right? They took responsibility. They realized that this is all from God, that this is happening because of the bad and horrible thing that they did to their own brother Joseph, throwing him in a pit, selling him to merchants who would sell him into slavery. That was also part of the reason why Joseph eventually revealed his identity, because he realized that his brothers felt bad for what they did, that they were repenting for what they did. And finally, after all of this, Joseph says these two words, Ani Yosef, I am Joseph, I'm your brother. And it changes everything. Once he says those words, everything kind of makes sense. All the ups and downs and all arounds, all the emotional pain and suffering that they went through makes sense, right? Because it was from their brother and it was for a reason. And even in some of his first words that Joseph speaks to his brothers, he says, "Don't be mad," right? I'm sorry, I'm not mad, he says, right? Don't regret even what you did because it's all from God, right? Everything that happened from the moment that you put me in that pit many years ago when he was only 17 years old, he's now in his 30s, right? Everything that you did to me, right, was from God. Everything that happened to me, was from God. Everything that happened to you was from God, right? In order that I be here in a position, in a place that I could help you through this famine, right? It's a very, very powerful teaching. Here, Joseph went through so much. 17 years old, gets thrown in a pit by his brothers, sold by his brothers, eventually into slavery. Well, a servitude in Egypt. He was a servant. Then he gets thrown into prison for many, many years, and everything's from God. Yes, that's the spiritual heights that Joseph reached, realizing that everything that happened to him in this world, right, was from God in order to bring about an intended future for him and his brothers and for others as well. And this is a very, very powerful life lesson that we can extract from the Torah portion, right? Is that Joseph is teaching his brothers. He's seeing his own life and he's telling his brothers to look at their own lives as well in this kind of way. That no matter what is going on, no matter what challenges we face, no matter what kind of roller coaster of life we go on, to kind of pause, take a breath, and tap into our faith. Tap into our faith, which is beyond our rational reason, right? Our rational minds will never get it. They won't understand it. They'll say, why did this happen? I don't understand why this happened the way it did. I can't believe this took place. Why did it happen this way? I can't believe it, right? Our rational minds go there. That's their rational minds, right? When we tap into our faith, right, it goes beyond the rational mind. It's a higher level of viewing our lives, a higher level of viewing life. And when we can tap into that, okay, we might not have chosen these things. We might not have written the script of our lives or the world this way, but we can tap into a place where we can say, okay, somehow this is for the good, and someday I'll really understand that. Even my rational mind will see that. And that's what happened with the brothers and with Joseph. When Joseph revealed his true identity to them, in that moment, even their rational minds understood, oh my, right? Now I see clearly, right? The faith was, was there, able to lead them even before the rational mind understood why everything was happening the way it did. But eventually, once Joseph reveals his true identity, even the rational mind can enjoy that understanding. Now I see why everything happened the way it did. Right? And that's the beautiful spiritual lesson, the life lesson that we can take from this week's Torah portion to bring in our own lives, right? Whenever we're going through something challenging, right? Small, medium, big, whatever it is, right? To tap into that place of faith, say, okay, even though I don't understand, and again, even if I wouldn't have chosen this, right? And maybe I didn't, right? Probably didn't. Still, somehow, it's for the good, and it will bring me and my life to a future intended place, a future good place. All the best, my friends, and be well.